This is Truth Angel, and this is my segment for A New World Order, Part 7. I was going to stop at number 6, but I have a little bit more I want to talk about. I recommend checking out people like Freeman TV, The Freeman Perspective, anything William Cooper, that's Milton William Cooper. Everything they say is true. Rev Michelle Hopkins, that's who I've been checking up on lately. She is a follower of Christ, and she's very smart. She knows about the technology in the ocean and the technology that's going on about our sun. They have successfully put lasers in space, and they are currently blasting our sun and they even burnt with lasers a triangle into our sun, but the sun healed itself. They're blasting lasers into our sun and causing solar flares. I don't believe they need to do this to do an E.M.P. They are in the control of the switches. They can turn the electricity off, our electricity grid, anytime they want. Lately, we've had senators saying we came close to a solar flare, knocking all of our electricity out, and on Rev Michelle Hopkins' channel, you will hear him give our enemies, anyone that wants to knock out our electricity, pretty much tells them how to do it, and that's bad. So I wasn't lying about the E.M.P., and now we got 4 or 5 post-apocalyptic shows that are talking about E.M.Ps, which is when all the lights go out and we all kill each other over food, and New World Order takes over because they have all the food and the guns. Well, not all the guns yet. They're working on it. We're continuing to have bad weather in our grain belt, and that's going to cause a food shortage, on top of the fact that they're getting ready for a big disaster. So I wanted to tell you about these lasers, that they are constantly attacking our sun, and that is very bad. Luckily, the sun heals itself very quickly, but they can cause solar flares, and they should not be doing this. That the Satanists are doing it. The Satanists are blasting lasers at our sun, and that is extremely disturbing to all of us on Earth, because they shouldn't be shooting lasers at the sun. And they don't need to have a solar flare to do the E.M.P., but they might try to, they might shut our lights out to begin the New World Order, where all the food disappears, we start killing each other, and the more of us that die, the easier it is for them to have New World Order. So I wanted to tell you about these lasers, and please go to Rev Michelle Hopkins' channel and watch everything that she has about that, and keep updated on what she's talking about. She's very intelligent, and she knows what's going on. Also, them blasting lasers at our sun and at our moon, it reminds me of what I talked about in segment 1, part 1, about Pink Floyd's shirts and stuff, how it has that laser and then a prism that comes through the triangle. I had a shirt that had the laser coming out of the pyramid, hitting the moon and exploding the moon. So let's hope they don't destroy our moon or our sun. What the hell would we do? So they're shooting lasers and messing with our planets, and that is Luciferian related. But it reminds me of once I saw them shooting lasers at the sun, it really reminded me of the Pink Floyd symbols, where they shoot a laser and a prism, and remember that the rainbow is Lucifer, and they're doing that currently to our sun. It's kind of scary. But we got other things going on too. I want to talk about this dream I had not very long ago. I'm going to pause it so I can get my paper and read it. Okay, so I had this dream. Today is September 2nd, 2013. And I had this dream about a month ago, maybe a couple weeks over a month ago. This dream really disturbed me, and I didn't write the date, but this dream bothered me so badly that I had to write it all down. And not only that, I had a double dream. I had 2 dreams that were almost exactly the same back to back, and I never have double dreams. So that was but it freaked me out so much I wrote it down, so I'm going to read it to you now. This took place, my dream was in a town where I work at, but I'm not going to disclose that name. I was up in this town. I was getting my stuff out of the storage shed, and it was my ex and my ex's mom were like, "What are you doing?" And I said, "I'm just getting my stuff out of the shed." I guess I was taking it somewhere else. And all of a sudden, the water, they live by a river, but it seemed like they were right by an ocean. And the ocean it wasn't a tidal wave. It was like, it just rose. It rose really rapidly, and it was almost like it didn't act like a tidal wave, like or splash, like a big wall of water, but it just rose so fast that I was trying to swim. All my things that I was getting out of the shed, all my belongings were, my art and my artwork were, my possessions were floating away with the water, and I'm swimming, and the water's moving extremely fast, and it's getting really deep, and I'm trying to catch my things, but I realized I couldn't, or I was going to die because the water was getting so full, and I had to go back to shore. So I had to ditch my stuff and just let it float away. I crawled up the bank, and I barely made it to shore. I got into the back door, sliding glass door of their house. I made it up to shore. I got in the house, and the water is coming in through the bottom of the door. And all the people in the house gets home, but it was like an entire family. It was like their entire family, even a man that has passed. He's an angel now. Even he was alive, and I'm like, I told them, wow, the ocean, the ocean's coming in. It's coming in our back door, and there's a huge storm, and a big windy hurricane, like tornado, came through, and it was really strong, and we had to hide. They have a small bathroom, and we all crammed in there for shelter from this. On top of the ocean rising, it was very windy. It was like a hurricane or a tornado, and the house is we're in the bathroom all huddled together, and the house gets completely picked up, and I start praying to God. I start praying to Jesus, please let us live, let us live. And the house is set back down, and the storm stops, and the water slowly starts to recede. And the woman of the house, who's a prepper, she has a lot of things. She's getting ready for natural disaster, E.M.P, food shortage. She's a prepper. She looks at me and she says, I need to store up on gas, like gas tanks. And I asked her, I thought you had plenty of those. And she said, I used it all. I need more. Which is interesting. Remember that. Then we look outside down the neighborhood, and all the families are outside on their porch looking at something down the street. We came out and we see a whole bunch of people. Like, I walked down the road into where the town was to see what everybody was looking at. I see all these people, and they're dressed in blue suits wearing gas masks, but it wasn't a full black gas mask that covers your face. They were wearing like half a gas mask, but it was a gas mask, but you could see their eyes in it. I drew a picture of it, which I'll probably put on this video. It was really scary. So we got all these people in blue suits wearing gas masks. They are an emergency team that came in after this disaster, and they look like doctors. Okay, they had blue gloves and blue scrubs and gas masks on, and they're checking on people after this disaster. It was like a storm ocean disaster, to bring supplies and food and check people out. They were checking out the old people. Did you have a heart attack? Checking them all out. And somebody that I don't even know, a stranger, looks at me and says, something's wrong with the air. That's why they have masks on. Don't forget that now, please. All the people think that these doctors, these blue men, I call them the blue men, are here to help them. So they're like, yeah, check me out, give me food. But then I see them take and hoard a bunch of these people, coax them on, and they got many blue buses, all these blue buses lined up. And they're hoarding people into these buses. I was scared because I knew what was going on in this dream, and I did not yell, I did not scream, I didn't warn anybody, but I realized, man, you get on that bus and you're gonna die. But these people were, they're here to help us, and let's go with them, and completely unaware of the situation. But I didn't scream or anything or warn anybody. But I see them, the minute I saw them putting people on blue buses, I was like, I am out of here. So I run to save my life. And I run into a school, because a school is big and there's lots of food there, because this just happened. So I'm like, they got food inside of there, and there's a lot of places to hide. Okay, then I have this same dream again. A double dream. I don't remember the last time I've ever had a double dream. So here I am. This is dream 2. I'm back in the same town again. I'm back in the same house again, and I'm back with the same family. And I dream that I'm telling this family about my first dream. Yeah, there was the ocean rose, and then we had a hurricane, tornado, and then all these blue men showed up and started taking people away to kill them, and everyone thought they were here to help us, but they weren't. They were bad guys. They were bad guys. So if they show up, don't get on the bus, is what I was trying to warn them about. And as I'm telling them about the first dream, and I'm trying to tell them about the blue men and the blue buses, the storm happens again. And we all hide in the small bathroom again. The storm stops, and we're all safe. All the people there, all the people in that house stayed in the house, and I went to go and check outside to see if the blue men showed up, if the blue buses were there. The blue men and the buses were back. So I run back into the house, and the family... Oh, before that part, a fire truck shows up, a red one shows up, which he's a brother of this family. And they're like, oh, it's okay. He works for them. Like, pretty much they were saying, well, he works for the fire department. The fire department's going to tell us what's going on. But that's actually not true. There's a woman of that family that actually works in the fire department. And the fire truck shows up at that house. The storm starts again, and we hide, and then we're safe. All the family stays in the house, and I go back outside. The blue men and the blue buses are back. So I run back to the house, and the family had let 2 of the blue men inside. They gave them wrapped up sandwiches, and they put them in the fridge. I pull a gun on them, and they are scared because they don't have any guns. Get the hell out of here, I say. One of them laughs, almost like in a mean laugh, and smiles and says to check the fridge. They left, and when I open the fridge, there are all these little notes, like sticky notes, on everything in the fridge that says all of the food is contaminated. Whatever they brought, the sandwiches, poisoned everything in the fridge. All the food was bad because they brought in the poison. Then I watched a presentation about the plague and how fast it kills you. Respiratory, it comes in. It was weird. I watched a presentation about the plague and how fast it can kill you. And they brought it to the whole town, the people with the gas masks. So, in this dream about these blue men, they bring, after this catastrophe or whatever, they come to pretend like they're bringing food and checking us out, but really they were bringing in the plague. They came in wearing gas masks. They brought the plague, they brought the gas, and it contaminates all the food. The last part of that dream, I see the moon and it's full. And many people are looking up at the moon and it's full, but everybody stops and checks it out because there was 2 moons. There was a double moon. One's the real full moon, and there was a projection, like a hologram, a projection at the very same time. And I run around yelling, it's a false alien invasion. It's a false alien invasion. But nobody understands. The weird part about that, I wish I would have wrote the date, but I'm glad I wrote it down. It just freaked me out. I haven't had a double dream in a long time. So I wanted to tell you about that because very recently we just had a gas attack in Syria, and it kind of gave me the willies because I'm like, oh my gosh, I dreamt about this. And now our president's saying we should just attack them and blaming it on the government, but the rebels are saying it was us, and some people are saying no, the U.S., and it's a false flag. I'm going to compare that to my dream in a way because, I don't know, maybe it's something that might happen later. Like I have a lot of bad dreams about the ocean and coastal areas, especially the East Coast. Especially on the East Coast. It could be something, a storm or the ocean happening later, and then the people that come to help them are actually bringing them poison, and I don't know. But there was a gas attack in Syria, and I could not believe how fast it killed those people. It killed those people so fast it automatically suffocated them. And I watched a presentation about that in my dream. And I never have double dreams, so it was about the same thing. That was creepy. But there's also food contamination in that dream, and people that show up, they think they're going to help them, but they're actually the ones who brought the gas. So I don't know. Maybe the UN showed up 3 days before that gas attack, and I don't know. I don't really think it's the government. It's either the rebels or it's the U.S. But nobody's ever mentioned, hey, that happened 3 days after the UN was already there. So what are the chances that the UN just happened to be there to analyze the evidence? So in my dream, it shows a metaphor that the UN brought that gas. And maybe the UN did bring that gas, and maybe the UN's the one that let that gas out, and maybe it's the UN and not the US and not the government and not the rebels. That's what my dream said. Well, metaphorically, it says people thought they were here to help us, and they just happened to be there to collect the evidence before they left, right? To start some kind of war that we don't need, where everybody in America's already hurting and broke and big trouble. So I don't know, but at the end of that dream, I saw 2 moons, a real full moon, and I tell you what, even tripped me out hardcore, is that when this gas attack in Syria happened, okay, I found out about it during the day, It was a full moon that night, guys. So, but there was a projection of a false moon, and I was saying false alien invasion because I do believe they might try a false alien invasion, but that might be a metaphor that was a false flag. False flag. There's the real moon. Here's the fake moon. A false projection. So the gas attacks, I believe, it was a false projection, and the UN just happened to be there 3 days before it happened. They could have been the ones that brought it, guys, but nobody's talking about that to start some kind of war. But Obama's getting so much retaliation. Don't you dare, especially from Russia, don't you dare. That it looks like, I don't know if we're going to do anything or not. I sure hope not. I mean, that's like the last thing we need. The war is strongly opposed at the moment. So I'm going to move on. So now we got FEMA trying to buy a horde of food, emergency food, like tons of it in a 24-hour period. And please go and watch Rev Michelle Hopkins videos about this because she's got a lot of evidence. FEMA's trying to buy up a bunch of food. They're training a bunch of troops for disaster in Region 3, which is the East Coast. I've had a lot of bad dreams. You go back to my October 1st, 2001 when I'm talking about my alien dreams and my feelings that there's something wrong with the ocean. Well, way later I find Rev Michelle Hopkins is like, yeah, they got antennas under the ocean that send out sound waves. And I was like, no way. But it's true. They got technology under the ocean that could cause something bad on the East Coast. Now there's all the arrows right now, guys, are pointing at there's going to be a huge disaster on the East Coast. I think it's going to be ocean related. And also now we got this comet Ison, which could possibly be wormwood. Comet Ison, wormwood. But see, they've been trying to freak us out with these comets for a while, and like they never happen. But they're saying this one's going to be one of the biggest that's going to be seen, and maybe it will hit us, maybe it won't. Maybe it's wormwood, maybe it's not. But way years ago, I had a dream that an alien hybrid man told me that there was going to be a comet that was going to hit between the UK and the East Coast. So I've had these bad feelings about the ocean, and after the tsunami, I'm like, no, it's not finished yet. Like that wasn't it. I've had a lot of dreams about after catastrophe being in the East Coast, and it is just a flippin' killing field. A killing field. I still never explained those dreams. They were horrible. People killing children and just everybody. It was horrible. You don't want to be by the coast. And I'm by the coast, but I'm on the West Coast. So now we got this comet Ison threat. It could be real, it could be not. It could take out the East Coast. It might land. It might cause the tidal wave. We got things underneath the ocean that could cause ocean problems. Maybe it's wormwood. Maybe it's not. Maybe it hits us. Maybe it doesn't. I don't know. But there's people that are looking at this ice and going up in space. They have like Google Space now. And they're like, man, that's a flippin' saucer. That's a triangle. It's a triangle saucer. Triangle saucer. Also, there's an Illuminati card that says meteor strikes, but the meteor is not shaped like a comet. It's shaped as a diamond, like a triangle, like a man-made thing. A man-made meteor. Go check that out. Meteor strikes or something is the Illuminati card, and it's not a comet. It's not a meteor because it's triangle shaped. It's diamond shaped. That's man-made. So maybe it hits us, maybe it doesn't, but there's pictures of this spaceship that's triangle that's sitting up there waiting for something. So maybe the real comet comes down. Maybe they send that triangle ship down to hit us, simulating a comet that causes the East Coast ocean disaster that I've dreamt about, which is what they're getting ready for. They're training troops for disaster, troops for riot control, and trying to buy a bunch of food, and it's pointing towards the East Coast. And also, we got our great gun confiscation thing going on in California. How awesome is that? Not. But in Hurricane Katrina, after that happened, the first thing they did was go and take everybody's guns. There's a video of some old woman. They're like, they're being mean to her. Give us your guns now. And that's when we need our guns, is after an emergency, when people start turning primal. Primal is the correct word. When disaster hits and there's no food and electricity, people are going to turn primal. And that's when you're going to need your guns the most, because people are going to freak out. But they took guns away during Katrina, so if there's another disaster, they might go door to door taking guns again, which is sad because that's when we need them. I found this other trippy thing. I'm trying to tell people beware of the world events in 2014. We have the World Cup in Brazil, and we also have the Winter Olympics in Sochi, Russia. So first I'm going to talk about the Brazil. They hired thousands and thousands of doctors that are not from Brazil. There's even strikes of the Brazilian doctors saying, man, you're hiring all these doctors that aren't from this country, and we're screwed, and there's been protests against this. Tons of these doctors now. I'm going to look back at that weird dream I had about all those doctors coming in from a different place to allegedly help people, but they're not. When I found out that they did that in Brazil, that they have protests, thousands and thousands of hired doctors bringing them in from somewhere else, to the point where the Brazilian doctors are protesting, going, what the hell's going on? Well, that's not a good connection, because I'm one of the first people that's going to go, there's something up with these hired doctors that are not from Brazil, and Brazil is where the World Cup is. And if they set off a big bomb, like that movie said, it's going to cause total economic collapse. Or hopefully those doctors don't bring in any kind of gas, because that's another metaphor about my dream. I'm not sure. We'll see. Why? Why are they bringing in all these doctors? Are they bringing those doctors to kill people after this? If something happens at the World Cup, I don't know. Just thought I'd bring it up. Also, attacking Syria, which now it's like, well, now Obama's kind of retreating. He's not saying yes, he's not saying no. Maybe, maybe not, maybe small. Attacking Syria is going to just cause total chaos in America and all around the world. Russia's threatening to kick our ass if we even touch them, and it's going to cause, the American economic collapse, or a world economic collapse, which is exactly what New World Order wants, because we can't have New World Order unless the entire world system collapses. Then they come out with the microchip. For many years now, I've been trying to tell people that Iran's not going to attack us. What is it, South or North Korea, whatever, which ones we're enemies with? It's not going to be it's not going to be the Koreas. It's not going to be Iran. It's not going to be who everybody they keep trying to convince you Iran's going to get us, and blah 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 blah, or China maybe, but I've been trying to tell people since all this Goons Day started out about Iran and the Korea, and I'm like, no. I said Russia, and everybody looks at me like, no, it's not going to be Russia. It's not going to be Russia. I'm like, I don't know, you guys. That's my hunch. I've had this hunch for 4 years. Okay, 4 years. I said it's going to be Russia. It's not. I don't feel it's going to be China even. They might gang up with Russia later, but I don't. It's not Iran, you guys. It's not going to be the Koreas. It's not going to be. It's going to be Russia. And I don't know, I've had that feeling, and everyone goes, no, there's not been one person that feels anything about Russia. Well, we got some weird stuff. We got like 3-4 really weird things going on with Russia right now. Finally, Russia's peeking its head out, and now I'm going, hey, you guys, I might be right about this. Number one, there's a bunch of stuff going on right now over Russia being anti-gay. We have people protesting dumping Coca-Cola down the drain because they want to put the Sochi Olympics, bingo, red flag, you guys. The Winter Olympics is in Sochi, Russia. That's number one. Number two, we got all this propaganda that he hates gays, and now, America's very gay friendly. Even people that aren't gay are like pissed at Russia all of a sudden, right? That's called propaganda. We got people, number three, we got people dumping out Coca-Cola because they're protesting that Coca-Cola is going to use the Russian labels on their coat. Number four, Russia says, if you guys attack Syria, we're going to kick your ass. Number four. Number five, I always had a feeling that it's going to be Russia that gets us. And there might be a big attack or a false flag that happens in Russia that's going to start Russia to attack us. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see about that. Please do me a favor. Keep your head up. Check out what's going on with Rev Michelle constantly. I'd recommend you go and check out her stuff above all the other conspiracy theories. She keeps really up to date about what's going on. Don't be too afraid. Just stay informed. And if you haven't listened to my series, please do. Maybe I can tell you something you haven't figured out already. I probably won't do a video for a while unless I get a whole bunch of new information that I feel like it's necessary. But please keep on track of Rev Michelle Hopkins, and thank you for listening to my series. And I would recommend, of all my series, if you want to be quick about it, listen to my whole part 1, listen to my whole part 6 and listen to part 7. The rest are kind of extras, but they're still full of information. But the things I really want to tell you I think are most important are going to be in part 1, part 6, and part 7. Well, God bless you guys, and keep an eye out on the world events. Watch out for 2014 World Cup and the 2014 World Olympics. Keep your eye on Russia. Hopefully we'll leave Syria alone. That would be good. But God bless you all.